Good evening and welcome to the Cedar Falls Community School District Board of Education meeting on this Monday, June 12th. I want to welcome you to the meeting and call it to order. Our first order of business is to approve a pro tem board secretary because Danelle is on a well-deserved time off. So I would ask for a motion for that appointment.
I move that the Cedar Falls Community District Board of Education, Community School District Board of Education approve the appointment of Dr. Adrian Talbot as acting secretary for the June 12th, 2023 Board of Education meetings.
Thank you, Jenny. Is there a second?
Second.
Susie, give you the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Congratulations, Dr. Talbot. Thank you.
I have a lengthy list of questions for Danelle tonight, but no.
We should have passed them along.
Next order of business is a public hearing for the new Cedar Falls High School audiovisual equipment. And I have in my possession an affidavit of publication showing that the notice of time and place of hearing for the new high school audiovisual equipment. This notice was published in the Waterloo Cedar Falls Courier on June 1st, 2023. The board will now hold a hearing. Is there anyone who would like to address the audiovisual equipment for the new high school? All right, seeing none, this hearing is now closed, and we will move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Nate. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Lowell. No comment. We'll move to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We will move now to the exciting part of the meeting, which is in regards to communications. So, Janelle, I turn it over to you.
Yes, good evening. Lucky night for you. You don't have to listen to me. I have the pleasure of introducing Zeb Nicholson, advisor for the High School Rocket Club, that will be giving the Communications District update tonight.
Good evening. As she introduced me, I'm Zeb Nicholson, math and engineering teacher up at the high school. Have been for about 10 years now. We have been a club now for a while, but we were given the opportunity to go ahead and kind of showcase who we are. A lot of people don't even know. You know, I ask a lot of people, have you ever heard of the Cedar Falls Rocket Club? And they say, oh, robotics, yeah, that's a great program. And it is. I'm not saying they're not. But we're very different. You know, they go this way and we go up and down, right? So anyways, we have a few slides here, but we've done some really neat things in the last few years, and we'll kind of introduce the club here. So the picture you see on the screen there is most of this year's club. The club actually started about 3 students when it very first began. We're now well over 20 to 25 students who are very active throughout many projects. The history of our club, just real quick. Back in 2014, I'm not much of a coach, an athletics guy, but I grew up and graduated from Cedar Falls, so I wanted to be part of the district more than just teaching. So I took my passion for rockets and grew the club. And right away, we started competing in national contests. The first year we did, got our feet wet. We introduced ourselves to the world of rockets and learned a lot, you know. But, you know, over those first few years, we had some great community involvement. We went down to the University of Iowa wind tunnels to do some research. And because of that, we actually got a full sponsorship from a worldwide company named Thales. If you've ever flown in an airplane and watched a TV, they're the ones that are in charge of that kind of AV equipment. If you've ever done any electronic banking, they also do that. And so it was a really neat experience to go visit that. We also placed 5th at a national contest out of 812 teams across the country. That took a lot of research, a lot of dedication by the students. Because of that, we kind of grew into what is called NASA Student Launch. For about the last 20 years, NASA has hosted a K-12 and a post-secondary launch event. And to really give you an idea what that looks like, you can't just submit a proposal to participate. You have to come in with some kind of credentials. So our national 5th place placement got us that. So for several years now, we've been competing in that. That NASA student launch is what I would love to have the students talk a little bit more about. They're the ones that do all the hard work. I just let them do that. I just make sure they're between the bumpers and the bowling alley, right? I'm making sure they don't get too far off course, but they do all the hard work. I guess with those last couple of years, we've done anything from solar panels to a parawing. If you've ever gone skydiving, you guys done skydiving? Those parachutes look a little bit different. I recommend it, by the way, if you ever do. And then we did planarian research. If any of you are biology majors, anything like that, planarians, we have the student who headed that is here. We also, if you experienced, some of you I know experienced our virtual reality. That is something that I truly believe is one of a kind in this area, especially at a high school level for these kids to go beyond just the traditional projects. I'm going to pass it off to Elliot here. He's going to give you a little bit about this year's project.
Thank you. My name is Elliot Prudhomme. I am going into my senior year here at the high school. So I'll talk a little bit about what we've done this year. So for the 2023 NASA Student Launch Project, we constructed a rocket that's about 8.5 feet tall, 5 inches in diameter. We expected it to go to about 4,500 feet, so just shy of a mile. One of our launches made it up to there. Our one down in Huntsville didn't quite make it that high, but our big thing with NASA is always our experiment, what we put inside of the rocket. So that this year was an autonomous aerial vehicle, or UAV, i.e. a drone. It takes off out of the launch vehicle, the rocket. We have a system that mechanically separates it after landing. The drone takes off and then flies around. The original idea was that I would fly autonomously from there to whoever had the controller, and then lead you back to the rocket to help you find it, because we've had some problems with the parachute catching the wind and being dragged across the fields when it lands. So that was sort of what inspired it. And we called this project Project Raven, or Project Raven, based on the Norse mythology of Odin and his 2 ravens, which would bring him messages and lead him around. So this is just sort of a little picture of our drone that we made. This was the 3D representation. And so then during this project, about once every 2 months, we have a 50 to 150 page report due. And so some of the short ones, some of them are shorter, some of them are longer. We start off in October right away submitting a proposal, just saying what we want to do. And if that gets accepted, then we move straight into the design phase. We have 2 big design reviews where we first just present like the general idea, and then critical design review in January is where we tell them exactly every single specification, and they either approve it or they say you need to go fix this. So then we move into the designing and building phase. So this is January to February is when we're actually launching rockets, testing things out, building hands-on. We've got a couple more reports that are due then, and then we make it down to Huntsville in April, which there's a picture here of the whole team at the launch pad there. And so overall, we were very successful this year. The drone didn't perform quite as well as we originally hoped. We were a bit ambitious with our original plan, but our rocket achieved an altitude of just under 4,000 feet, and our drone did fly, just not quite to the extent that we hoped. But we recently found out we received the first place awards in the categories of Best Looking Rocket, STEM Engagement, and the Judge's Choice Award, which is an all-encompassing award that is the overarching thing for NASA Student Launch. And that's something that we have gotten all 4 years we've participated. So do any of you have any other comments about the project? All right. So some of the launches that we've done include a scale model launch first. So before we go anywhere near the 8-foot tall rockets, we build one that's about 4 feet tall, exactly half of it. And that's just to prove to NASA that our design will work and it won't like explode on the pad or anything. And so that we do around December time. Usually over winter break is when we're launching these. And then once that works and we get everything approved by NASA, we build our full-scale rocket. That takes usually about a month. So we actually ended up launching our big one 3 times this year because our first launch in February had a small problem with the parachute deployment not working as intended. So we relaunched in March, end of March, and then that all went well, so we were able to go down to Huntsville and launch with NASA there.
Thank you, Elliot. So before we get too far into that, I really do want to emphasize just how much hard work these guys are doing. You know, these reports are on top of their schools and athletics, and there are invitations of about 10 schools in the country. 10 schools in the entire country get invited to even participate. On top of that, about 45 colleges and universities, very prestigious, very well-known schools with high STEM field area colleges. So when we go down to Huntsville, it's a big honor. But yes, on top of that, they're presenting basically the same thing that NASA goes through. So when you guys all watched, I'm sure you did, the SLS launch, things like that, when the Crew 2 goes off. But anytime NASA does a project, they follow those same milestones. They put these students through the same rigors that they do, it's just with a much smaller budget. So yeah, what else was I gonna say? Our budget here, just to give you a scale of what this is, we are not necessarily funded by the district. We go out and scour for grants, in-kind donations. The payload that he talked about with the drones, those electronics and things like that, those cost over $1,000 on average per year. The rocket itself, if you want to see money burn, you launch a high-powered rocket. $200 to $300 of fuel will burn in about 3 to 4 seconds. Okay, so while all that work and hours and hours and hours of time go into it, it's seconds of thrill and excitement, but man, it pays off. The other thing I wanted to point out that these kids do, and he didn't necessarily, we didn't have time to go too far into it, the STEM Engagement Award is just as important as the critical and mathematical side of it. These guys go out and they hit over 500 elementary students with engaging activities. That's why they won that award. They go out and they go on top of the reports and on top of the building, on top of the homework and all of that. They went through and went to elementary schools and taught kids about STEM at the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade levels. So it's really neat to see that. So what are they doing? You know, what after this? Like, do they just go live with their parents in the basement? No, not at all, right? They go do some amazing things. In fact, so Harrison Redfern is here with us today. You want to stand up, Harrison? Harrison just graduated. If you get the chance or have had the chance to experience the virtual reality headset of that launch, he was a major contributor to getting that to work, and so was Sean. Sean Radke just graduated this year. So we don't have any names of students former besides the ones up here, but let's see, a couple of you guys are still going to be here next year, but we also had Owen Tresmer, Jefferson Roberts went to Iowa State. A couple of these kids actually came into this club not knowing what they were going to do with their college careers and with their lives specifically with that. And after doing the club and the NASA student launch, they were able to participate in that. They went on. Ryan Ritter is now with the U.S. Air Force as a civil employee and doing his graduate work. And Will Birkin is now working for Sierra Space. He's developing some virtual reality simulation software for Sierra Space. So Dream Chaser, if you Google Dream Chaser, it's a really cool little space shuttle thing. He's part of the simulations for that. But yeah, I leave it open to future members too. Like, I don't know what Elliot or Mila and Ryan, what they're gonna do, but this club has been super special to them and to myself. But I do look forward to seeing what else we're gonna do in the future. So yes, we thank you for your time and thank you for letting us come and show off what it is you do. So now when somebody says, have you ever heard of the Cedar Falls Rocket Club? I hope you say yes. But thank you for your time.
Well, thank you, Zeb. That was a great presentation. Excited about all the things that you're doing. I just want to open up because very interesting topics. Anybody have a question?
you know the two guys that went to Iowa State, are they in the aerospace engineering program?
Yes, so Owen Tresmer is in mechanical engineering, is that right? And he'll be joining the Rocket Club down there, I believe. He's actually doing an internship or a co-op, actually, right here at Viking Pump. And you might know Megan Tresmer, his mother. And then Jefferson Roberts, he is doing, he actually, and it scared me when he told me he was doing this, he was making his own rocket fuel in high school. So he is at Iowa State doing chemical engineering. And it was safe. Everything was fine. Everything's fine.
He's not in his parents' basement?
Oh, we went to the university.
At least they live out in the country.
Yes, they do live out in the country. It was fine. So yes, those two are doing engineering.
Reason I ask, I have a younger brother that graduated from Iowa State with aerospace engineering degree.
Oh,
He works for Boeing now.
works for Boeing. Out in Utah, by chance, or?
No, he's actually in Seattle.
Okay, very nice. Yeah, and so that's what Ryan was actually looking at. So Ryan Ritter did graduate Iowa State with an aerospace degree.
Okay,
So,
nice.
yeah.
No.
I just want to say thanks for coming and telling us about your successes this year, and
Thank you, Nick.
congratulations, and good luck for the team that's remaining for next year, and hope to see you do even more.
Same.
No, yeah, thank you guys. The skills that you guys are doing to write a 50 to 150 page report and work together to solve a problem, those are durable skills. Though that's something you'll be able to take regardless of whether you choose a field in aerospace or whatever. So kudos to all of you for stepping up. And kudos to you too for taking a passion and directing it towards a wonderful program for our student and for our district. I mean, that's incredible. And I'm glad, let us know what we can do to help support you in that, because it's a wonderful addition to our district, and thank you for all the passion and time that you put into it. So let's give these guys a round of applause.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Thank you, Zeb.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on now to the Booster Club, giving a quick presentation, and I'll introduce Chad Herrick.
Oh my goodness, how do you follow that?
How I feel every time.
Wow. I mean, congratulations. Incredible success since the beginning of the program, and sitting in the back row, you can feel the passion coming out. It's really cool to see that happening. So keep that up. Good luck to all of you. As was noted, I'm Chad Herrick. I'm the vice president of the Cedar Falls Booster Club. And we're an organization that was established in 1975 as a nonprofit organization. And we like to support the staff and the athletics of junior high and high school student and schools here in the Cedar Valley, Cedar Falls. And all of our revenue eventually makes its way back to the student athletes for the sanctioned sports at those schools and the junior high schools here in Cedar Falls. I'm sure the number's not quite accurate anymore, but over 2,200 students participate in extracurricular activities in Cedar Falls from 7th through 12th grade. It's a staggering number of student athletes. A few of the sanctioned sports that the money that we collect that supports, and unfortunately we wish we could help everyone, including these great students here, but we're limited to just sanctioned sports, and so there are a few of those that get left out too, but not without our consideration. So we have a few ways that we raise funds for our organization. One is just simply through the membership drive, which many of you are maybe familiar with, where you become a member and then you get a pass into local events for sports. And one of our big events that's coming up actually is the Pat Mitchell Memorial Golf Tournament. We're hosting the 24th iteration of that this year on June 22nd, and that's at Pheasant Ridge Golf Course. So anyone that still hasn't signed up, please do so. And we've done the Sturgis Falls Half Marathon and 5K in the past. And one of the things that we support is, you've maybe seen the banners that go up downtown on the light posts for a few weeks every, I don't remember when that is, spring? Thanks, Susie. And so it's a collaborative effort. It really takes a community to come together to have a successful booster club. And so we need to thank our parents, our community members, our businesses, our organizations. We get a lot of support, sponsorships from local businesses, and we couldn't do it without all of them. So I'm actually here to present a check to Troy Becker, representing our athletics. Since 2010, including tonight's donation, we've contributed over $1 million to the organization, the athletics of Cedar Falls. So with that, I'd like to present Troy with this check for $127,000 and change.
All right, hold on. I know somebody who would like this.
Great.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Troy. Thanks, Troy, for all you.
Thank you.
We double our membership, we can get some more rocket fuel. Thanks to Susie Hines, our president, and everybody on the Booster Club that joined it. Obviously, our programs could not survive without our Booster Club, and that's 7 through 12. Thank you to everybody that's a part of that, and we're looking forward to a great year. Thanks.
Yeah. No, thank you. And we recognize that you're a group of volunteers, your community folks that dedicate just a tremendous amount of time, and without it, these programs would not be possible. So, Susie, I know you've been part of that, Chad, and a host of many other people, and we're just so grateful for having that level of involvement, because it makes our district that much better. So thank you so much to all of you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else, Janelle? Okay, all right. Very good. Wonderful. We're going to move on to the more mundane business of the school board. It's not working? Okay. We're going to move on to the more mundane business of the school board with looking at an approval for authorization of payment for year-end claims. Hold on. I think it's my microphone. It is? All right, we'll give that a try. So this is, well, Dr. P. Yours?
Yes, so I'll jump in here. This is an annual request by the district to have the board approve and authorize end-of-year claims. In essence, what this is and what this means is our fiscal year ends June 30th. Before the next board meeting, all the bills will be brought to the school board at that July meeting, but due to the fact that we have cash accounting versus our general accounting practices, our GAAP accounting, it saves an immense amount of time for the district to be able to pay end-of-year claims when they're due. So if there's bills that are submitted, claims that are submitted between now and the end of June, we can pay those and then bring those back to the board for final approval in July. But it cleans up our accounting processes immensely if that is authorized. So our request is to have the board approve that, and then those will be brought back to the board in July.
Very good. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So move.
That actually it requires, Lowell, do you have a motion for that? Thank you.
I move that the Board of Directors of the Cedar Falls Community School District give authorization to the Chief Financial Officer or designee for the payment of year-end claims before board approval. A listing of year-end claims will be submitted to the board at the first school board meeting of the new fiscal year.
Thank you, Lowell. Joyce, would you like to?
Second.
Thank you very much. No discussion. We'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Very good. That's approved. Now we're moving on to the property loss transfer report for insurance claims.
Yeah, so Donnell usually does this, but this again is an annual request. Throughout the year, we'll have property loss that will occur. Could be incidents, accidents, damage to property. At the time, those are paid through the general fund, but then or through PEPL, depending on the account. But at the end of the year, through our accounting procedures and processes, we can actually reimburse the general fund and the physical plant and equipment levy from the management fund, which is really the vessel that we utilize to pay for our property insurance and claims. So the streamlined process is to get things fixed, either through the property damage or the vehicle damage, quickly through the general fund, and then have that property loss transfer occur in June as we wrap up our fiscal year. And there is a total of $15,000, $10,000 to the general fund for management, and $5,000 from physical plant and equipment levy to from the management fund that is a part of this report.
All right, thank you, Dr. Petit. Could I get a motion to approve this?
I move the Cedar Falls Community School Board of Directors approve the property loss deductible transfer of $5,000 to the physical plant and equipment levy and $10,000 to the general fund from the management fund for the 2022-2023 school year.
Thank you, RJ. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Susie. No discussion. All those in favor?
Just
go ahead,
looks
RJ.
like here, so most of these funds are for deductibles.
It is. It's all for the deductibles. There's times where there's going to be cost of damage that's going to be excessive or above that. It's the deductible amount that we pay for that is eligible to be transferred from the management back into the general fund or the physical plant and equipment levy.
Yeah, very good question. And another, and if Donnell was here, she could explain it even better than much better than I would, but is the fact that our general fund, this is replenishing our general fund. Remember Donnell's silos? She's got all her silos there, and so this puts money back in, because our general fund is what we can use to pay salaries for our teachers and materials for our classrooms and that type of thing. So this in essence puts the money back in that bucket, so it can be we're not tapping it for vehicle repairs and that kind of thing.
And this would cover anything that was in the last fiscal year then?
Correct. So this is going to be anything from July 1st till the end of June is what this covers, anticipating we do not and will not have anything that will occur in the next 3 weeks.
What happens if you have an incident that's under the deductible level?
Then it's just paid for out of pocket. Typically, we will then utilize the appropriate funds for that. This is just for the deductible, is what it's for. Everything else is pretty well specified as far as how and where we can spend those funds. The deductible is the only thing that can be a part of the property loss transfer with the management covering those costs.
Got it.
Any other questions, I think?
I'm good.
Okay, all right. I think we had a motion and a second. Yep. So I will move towards a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item is item I on the agenda for the supervisors, managers, coordinators, transportation department, IT department technicians for the salary benefit adjustment for this coming year. Dr. Talbot.
Thank you. Yeah, in my capacity as the HR director, I've worked with Dr. Patty and Donnell, and this recommendation is coming forward based on those discussions. And this is for the non-bargaining unit employees. The recommendation is that an average, that is a median, total package increase, which would be wages plus insurance premiums, IPAs and FICA, for the hourly paid and salaried employee groups be at 3.03%. The employee groups to which this would apply would be Category 1 employees. These are hourly wage employees, of whom there are approximately 54, and that would cover 12-month secretarial, clerical, principally, not exclusively, the business office staff that many of you are familiar with, information technology service technicians, bus drivers, and bus mechanics, and also applicable to Category 2 employees who are salaried professional, and that would be directors, associate directors, coordinators, and other salaried professionals, as well as supervisors and managers. The cost of the increase in compensation from the general fund and the nutrition fund is $143,907. I mention the nutrition fund because in the supervisor and manager group is included the 4 managers that manage the food service operation. As the board knows, there's a separate fund for food service. So we recommend to the board that you grant the superintendent the authority to exercise his independent discretion in deciding the changes in wages or salary, if any, for individual employees within each employee group, so long as the total cost to the district does not exceed the approved average total package increase. Individual employees may receive more or less than the average total package increase.
All right, thank you, Dr. Talbot. If I can get a motion and a second, then we'll address if there's any questions.
I move the Cedar Falls Community School District Board of Education approve the total package increases as presented for each employee group for the 2023-2024 school year. The board further grants the superintendent or designee the authority to use his or her independent discretion in allocating increases, if any, for each employee group so long as the total cost to the district does not exceed the approved total package increase in each employee group. It is the board's understanding and intent that this grant of authority and use of discretion by the superintendent or designee may result in some employees receiving more or less than the total package.
All right, thank you, Nate. Is there a second?
Second.
RJ, thank you for the second. Any discussion or comments before we move to a vote?
And I can jump in there. That big, long statement at the end is truly intended to satisfy a challenge that was completed in a district with a statewide audit to ensure that, especially with this group and members of this group, that cents and pennies get rounded up or rounded down appropriately. And that was a challenge within an audit that took place, I believe, in 2018 or 19, right prior to COVID. So that is important to note with this group that typically we're talking rounding.
And we're not talking about the case you specify is not our district?
Oh, no, it was not our district.
Just
it was
to
another district.
make sure that's clear.
Yes.
Thank you for that clarification. All right. Seeing no further questions or comments, we will move to a vote. All of those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Now move on to a similar item on the agenda for the approval of the 23-24 administrative team salary benefit adjustment. Dr. Petit.
Yeah, so very similar with our prior approval that was for non-represented groups, and that is very closely aligned with our previous agreements with our certified groups and non-certified groups. This is for our administrators, and this recommendation is for a total package of 2.84% for administrators. This excludes the superintendent, includes building principals, and building associate principals. And the total package includes salary plus insurance premiums, IPERS, and FICA. The total cost of increase in compensation is $101,310. Again, recommendation is the board grants the superintendent the authority to exercise his independent discretion in deciding the changes in wages or salary, if any, for individuals within this employee group, as long as the total cost does not exceed the total package approved. Individual employees may receive more or less than the average total package increase.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Petit. Can I get a motion and a second, and we'll address any questions?
I move that the Cedar Falls School District Board of Education approve the total package increase as presented for the cabinet-level administrators, principals, and associate principals, excluding the superintendent, for the 23-24 school year. The board further grants the superintendent the authority to use his independent discretion in allocating increases, if any, for the employee group so long as the total cost of the district does not exceed the approved total package increase for the group as a whole. It is the board's understanding and intent that this grant of authority and use of discretion by the superintendent may result in some employees receiving more or less than the total package.
Thank you, Susie. Is there a second?
Second.
Joyce, with the second. Any questions or comments regarding this motion?
Andy, how many employees are in this group? Is this a similar?
This would be roughly 24 is what Dr. Talbot said. I was thinking 25, but 24.
It's very close.
All right. Seeing no further questions or comments, we will move to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Superintendent's report.
Yeah, just a couple different items. Our next board meeting is July 10th here in the City Hall. Also included in the board packet is the board calendar for 2023-2024. It's really just corresponding dates from this year. There is one change, and that's come through the legislative action. Our budget process will be slightly different going into next fiscal year. The state legislature actually approved a process where we have to add a meeting to be able to have just a 30-minute open comment section for a separate meeting other than a regular meeting. And then that also means with that cities and counties as well have mailers that will be sent out within 10 to 20 days of that public hearing with the specified amount of the levy and the levy increase and tax information. But we used to have February 26th as a, if necessary. That is now going to be a meeting, and in fact there may need to be a special meeting also embedded into that February-March timeline to go through the budget process and to make sure that we are abiding by the new legislative rules and law. So I don't want that to be a surprise. We'll probably talk about that a few times as we come through. Obviously with board elections in November, a new board being sworn in December, we just want to be transparent that the budgeting process next February, March, and April will look slightly different than what we've done in the past with additional meetings and additional time.
Sometime, Andy, would you talk to us about what the changes or how the changes affect us when it comes to special education and kids going to not our districts, leaving our district to go to a private school, and how that affects us and our budget?
Yes, we're still waiting on guidance on a lot of things that were covered this past legislative session. There's some things like the budgeting process that was, again, going to be challenging as we go through the process. It's going to be new, but was fairly clean cut as far as what they would state for what we need to do as far as policy and processes. There's others that we don't know when the guidance will come. We're hoping sometime during the summer, but there's times where sometimes with the complicated aspect of when they're building the plane as they fly it, we don't get some of those guidance until after school starts. So when we get it, we will pass it along and do a presentation to make sure that everybody's well aware. So as you get questions out in the community, it could even be talking points that we will share out so that everybody knows.
That would be great, because I know people are asking, and I know there's some confusion about, are we responsible for a student that has an IEP that goes to another school? And how do we fund that, I guess? Those are some of the questions.
So that is an interesting and a really good question. In the past, yes, there is always that responsibility on the resident district. From what we can ascertain, that has now been shifted to the area education agencies, the AEAs. But again, we have not received guidance on that yet.
Okay.
So that's an area that there's just some clarification, some confusion on.
Because that's huge.
It is.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
Good question.
So the guidance you're waiting for, is that from Department of Education or from
Yeah.
our own council, or?
So that would come from the Department of Education, but also our council across the state. Typically, there's going to be representation from school administrators of Iowa through Iowa Association of School Boards that typically it's going to be the larger firms that will provide guidance on top of what the Department of Education sends out. So all of that are things that we're waiting for right now, especially when it comes to the voucher process, when it comes to some of the other changes as far as what can be and can't be done, books that can be and can't be had, things like that. there's a lot of layers on this that we just, again, want to make sure we're abiding by the law, but also doing the right things for the right reasons, which is also why we need guidance.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions for Dr. Petit? Any questions or comments from board members before we move into a closed session? All right, seeing none. So just if you are watching our meeting this evening, the board is now going to take a motion to move into closed session. And the reason for that is this is the time of year that, one of the, if I will say, not the only, but one of the very important roles of this board is to hire and evaluate the superintendent. And so we will be moving into a closed session to discuss with Dr. Petit and provide him feedback and interaction with him regarding his performance. And so that will be the objective of the closed session. So there will be no actions taken when that concludes. So we'll simply come out of closed session and adjourn the meeting. So there won't be anything else for you to follow. And so this will conclude the video of this meeting. So with that, I would ask for a motion to go into closed session. So there'll be a motion and a second, and then it will be a roll call vote for everyone.
I move that the Cedar Falls Board of Education enter into closed session to evaluate the professional competencies of an individual whose appointment, hiring, performance, or discharge is being considered when necessary to prevent needless and irreparable injury to that individual's reputation, and that individual requests a closed session 2011 Code of Iowa 21.5 I or LI.
Thank you, Joyce. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Nate. All right, this will be a roll call vote, and Dr. Talbot will call out your name.
Yep, thank you. Director Coyle,
Yes.
Director Gruber,
Yes.
Director Hassman,
Yes.
Director Hines,
Yes?
Director Leeper,
Yes.
Director Meyer,
Yes.
Director Stutzman.
Yes.
All right, thank you. So that passes. So we will we'll ask that that the video be concluded, and thank you for joining us this evening, and we will now move into closed session.